Welcome to this explainer. Have you ever wondered why you just instantly click with certain people, while others, well, they just leave you completely cold? We really like to think of these everyday social interactions as pure chance, right? Like some magical spark of chemistry. But what if they aren't? What if they're actually highly predictable, beautifully engineered, and completely hackable neurological systems? Well, buckle up, because we're going to dive right into this and uncover the hidden code of human connection.
90%. I know, it sounds like a total exaggeration, but it is actually deeply rooted in human biology. According to our source material, by using 5 specific, deeply psychological behavioral triggers, you can literally make 90% of people feel subconsciously attracted to and impressed by you. And look, these aren't just your standard social tips. We're talking about actual mental overrides here. So let's decode them. All right, let's kick things off with tactic 1, the hidden social code, also known as mirroring the energy. At our core, human beings are just absolutely desperate to be understood. So if someone comes up to you projecting angry or sad energy, your job is to respond in that exact same tone. On the flip side, if they come at you with cheerful energy, you match that happiness. Why does this work so incredibly well? Because reflecting their exact emotional output makes the other person feel like you genuinely share their reality. They sense this profound psychological connection because right in that moment, you're validating their state of being. Mirroring the energy is your absolute best entry point. Moving right along to tactic 2, the neuroscience of names and dopamine triggers. Okay, enter the medial prefrontal cortex. According to our source, the second you meet someone, you have got to call them by their name. Because whether people want to admit it or not, they absolutely love hearing their own name. But think about it neurologically. Who uses your name the most? It's your mom, your dad, your siblings, your partner. It's the people who love you. So when you use a stranger's name, you are instantly bypassing their social defenses and lighting up the exact same region of the brain associated with those deep, loving relationships. It's a real game changer. So what does this all mean? Well, it's all about the chemical cascade that follows. Activating that medial prefrontal cortex literally forces the brain to release dopamine. And as we know, dopamine is the ultimate feel-good chemical. Now, at first, it just creates a quick, positive feeling toward you. But as the source explains, over time, that dopamine release turns a fleeting positive feeling into a long-term, subconscious liking. Basically, they'll just start to prefer you, and honestly, they probably won't even understand why. Which brings us to tactic 3, praise, presence, and what we call the reality check. We all love to hear praise about ourselves, right? You definitely do. But a clumsy, thrown-together compliment, that does absolutely nothing. To actually trigger a dopamine rush, your praise has to follow a very specific anatomy. It needs to be small, specific, sincere, and polished. The source gives this perfectly simple example. Your glasses look great. It hits every single metric. It's highly specific, it feels completely sincere, and it's a small detail that proves you're paying close attention. Hitting these exact criteria triggers another massive rush of those feel-good chemicals, which makes them like you instantly. But, okay, hold on. Here is a harsh, deadpan physical reality check straight from the text. Take care of your body odor. I mean, it is an undeniable truth. You could master literally every mental hack in the world. You could trigger dopamine and mirror energy flawlessly, but absolutely none of it works if your physical hygiene is distracting. A bad physical presence shatters that entire psychological illusion in a split second. To establish this baseline, the source text actually specifies tools for physical presence, citing things like Cool's deodorant stick for 24-hour non-sticky protection, and Cool's Storm fragrance to actively project your personality. Mastering this physical baseline is the strict, non-negotiable prerequisite for any of these psychological tactics to actually take root. Without it, the human mind simply rejects the manipulation entirely. All right, let's shift gears to tactic 4, controlling the neuropace, or biological control. We are now entering the dark psychology of speech pacing. In fact, I'm going to intentionally slow down my own narration right now, just so you can feel exactly how this works. Because when you speak calmly and use deliberate pauses, you actually take control of your listener's nervous system. The source reveals that this slow pace drives up oxytocin, which increases trust, while simultaneously causing cortisol, their stress hormone, to just plummet. You are making them feel calm, safe, and entirely focused on you. When you master this neuro pace, your words suddenly seem incredibly clear, focused, and immensely valuable. Because you are the one controlling the cadence, you are engineering profound, subconscious trust from your listener,
And as our source reminds us, that subconscious trust is exactly what makes them like you more. You are literally hacking their hormones with nothing but your breath and your voice. And finally, we arrive at Tactic 5, the reverse spotlight technique. This is the ultimate flip.
Now, our source actually warns that this final piece of the puzzle is the most powerful and honestly slightly scary technique because it completely flips the entire social dynamic on its head. I want you to burn this exact phrase into your memory. When you connect with someone, what qualities do you look for? Whenever you want to impress someone, you ask them this question. Why? Because it forces your target into an immediate game of psychological jujitsu. By asking them what they value, you turn the spotlight right around. Instead of you working so hard to impress them, they will suddenly start describing those qualities while simultaneously polishing and presenting themselves better just to impress you. Because at the end of the day, the main game of psychologies is the brain. By utilizing this reverse spotlight technique, you are subtly slipping inside their mind. Once they're actively trying to represent themselves well just to meet your standards, they are officially trapped in your frame. They will constantly be thinking about you. And when you combine that with the mirrored energy, the dopamine triggers from their name, the highly specific praise, and that biological pacing we just talked about, well, they will already be overwhelmingly impressed by you. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating and maybe slightly unsettling question to wrap up this explainer. Is human connection truly organic, or is it just beautifully engineered? When we start to really understand the medial prefrontal cortex, dopamine triggers, and oxytocin pacing, the lines between natural, spontaneous chemistry and deliberate influence start to get really blurry. So, the next time you feel an instant, undeniable spark with a stranger, you might just have to ask yourself who's actually writing the code. Thanks for diving into the hidden mechanisms of the mind with me today. Keep analyzing, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.